Welcome to the Book Club. I'm Peter Martin. I'm joined by the former literary editor of the Herald, Hugh MacDonald. We each week will be reviewing the latest releases in the sporting world, whether it's a great book from football, tennis, you name it, we'll be across it. And we'll also look back at some classics that we feel you just have to get a hold of. Hugh, the one we're going to look at this week is Pep Confidential. It's the inside story of Pep Guardiola's first season at Bayern Munich. This one, again, written by Marty Perarnau, is in the same vein as Graham Hunter. Is it an access all areas?
Yeah, it's very much fun. Strangely, we talked about Graham Hunter's book a couple of weeks ago, and it has that access all areas, but of a different type. And it's a different type of book to Graham's as well. The access he gets is he's a great pal of Guardiola's. Perarnau was an Olympic water polo player, so they got friendly that way. And basically, Guardiola said to him, come to Bayern Munich, watch us train, watch us do anything you want, and write what you want. It's just a journalist's dream, you know. And that's what he did. He went to Bayern Munich, Pep's first season there, and just watched training, watched the players eating, talked to the general managers, talked to Pep, and it was completely. He was actually on the training ground, Peter. He was actually standing there where Guardiola is telling players, you know, to stand 1 yard to the left, 1 yard to the right.
Yeah, let me ask you this then, Hugh. Who would this book appeal to?
I think it appeals to the punter who's really interested in the tactical formations of football and how. And you can see that on Twitter now and in blogs. A lot of young kids are getting really into the way football is played. I know for a fact it really interests every football coach. One of the great things, if you go around football, and especially coaches that you know you read and you say, have you read Pep Confidential? They'll look at you as if you're, of course I've read Pep Confidential. Because it's really given you a masterclass of how Pep goes about coaching and how it goes about dealing with players. And the amount of coaches that I've asked about this, said, oh yeah, I've definitely read that. I mean, that's one of my... And they'll immediately give you an anecdote from it, you know, the way Pep demands players eat in a certain way, the way... The training is meticulous, this one man moving a yard and transition. So it really appeals, it's a great football anorax book, for want of a better word, but there's enough in it, certainly of Pep as well, to make it a really interesting study of character. Yeah,
well, I was going to pick up on that because obviously I had a chat with Paul Lambert, who had the great fortune of going to Germany, winning a European Cup medal with Ottmar Hitzfeld as the manager, and he couldn't put the book down. And again, wasn't fooled by the suggestion that Pep Guardiola was all tiki-taka football.
Yeah, I mean, that's what becomes clear, and it becomes clear how Pep knows that he has to develop as a coach. As much as he wants to develop his players, he knows he's got to, he knows he's got to develop Bayern into a more penetrative, dynamic team. And that's, I mean, that thing, it's interesting to read it this season because there's talk about, this will be his last season at Bayern, that he'll leave in the summer. And I think this season is the season he really has to do something with Bayern. Because for Pep, okay, he's won the Bundesliga, but Bayern managers would expect to do that. This is his Champions League. I mean, it's early in the Champions League, we know that, Peter, but already they're showing signs of being a force this year. And I think it's a great season to read it because it's obvious that Bayern will be there and thereabouts in the Champions League, but this will be the season he'll be really wanting to win it for Bayern.
Yeah, just on that point, and I think it's a good point, Bayern Munich for me strike me very much as the German Real Madrid. Reputations count for diddly squat.
Oh yeah, and they count for nothing with Guardiola, the way he deals with players as well. I mean, he's not fazed by that, and he's not fazed by the... I mean, they call them, I mean, as you know, Bayern Munich, and they're called the Hollywood 11 in Germany, and that comes through the way the players present themselves and the way they are media-wise. I mean, it's just you can imagine it's a huge story in Germany.
What do we learn from this book that we didn't know before? What has Marty managed to get?
I think you get the exactly almost forensic examination of Guardiola's methods, and for the football nerd and the football coach, they'll love that. For the rest of us, and I loved it as well, the rest of us, we get a really good insight into Guardiola And we see this neurosis, obsessional man that can't eat properly before games. Sometimes the adrenaline's so high that his stomach aches after games, who's determined to get every single little thing right, and who absolutely aches in defeat.
Are there any criticisms for you in this one, Hugh?
Yeah, I think the major criticism, and it's a criticism that has to be taken on board because of the author. The author's not a writer. So it's not like Graham Hunter's book on Barca, where it's it's written by a professional journalist. But it's still, there's no bits in it where you go, it's unintelligible. But yeah, the style's a bit more clunky than it would be in a Graham Hunter book on Barca, for example.
Yeah, that's the great thing about the book club. We get words like clunky in there. Who'd have thought clunky to describe it? But nevertheless, Pep Confidential, give us your overall mark out of 10 for this one.
A 7 out of 10, but if you're a coach like Paul Lambert, you probably will think it's indispensable.
If you're not a coach, if you're somebody who's into football in a big way, is it well worth the buy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think even if you just want to read it, I mean, because you're out on the training ground with Ribéry and Robin, you're actually overhearing conversations, Robin talking to Guardiola about how he's playing. Football fans love that, it's a must.
Yep, okay. Don't forget, on the website, you can click through to our competitions. You can win books from the book club. All you have to do is click on the link, and you could win one of the books that we've been assessing. 7 out of 10 then, Hugh?
7 for me.
Okay. Pep Confidential, if you want to get a hold of that one. Every week on the book club, we'll review some of the books from the sporting world. It may well be the new release. It could be a classic that you just have to get a hold of. Simple as that. Thanks to Hugh McDonald and from myself, Peter Martin. Hopefully you enjoyed this week's book club. We'll be back next week.